and how you categorize is all relative. I can categorize everybody in this room based upon gender, male or female. Well, right now, male or female, Allah knows what's going to happen in a few years anyway. I can also categorize based upon work, engineer, doctor. I can categorize based upon ethnicity. The same group, different categories, right? Similarly, when it comes to signs of Judgment Day, you have the same ahadith. How do you categorize? It can be different. So, one way to categorize is to categorize it into one of two. Either a specific incident or a general trend. Some predictions, one incident, one off. The Muslims shall conquer Constantinople. Okay, that's a one-off. Okay, in another hadith, the Muslims will conquer Rome. That's a one-off incident. The Dajjal will come. That's a one-off incident. Ya'juj and Ma'juj will be released. That's a one-off incident. This is a one incident. The Mahdi will come. That's another incident. Or you have a trend, a general trend. Ignorance will prevail, for example. Okay, in one hadith, writing will be common. This is a very interesting prediction. Kitaba, writing will be common. And imagine in a society when the Prophet ﷺ was sent in Mecca, barely 12 people knew how to read and write. Most of the Sahaba of early Islam were not literate because it wasn't the culture to be literate. They were not literate. And our Prophet ﷺ said, one of the signs of Judgment Day, the majority of mankind will write. This is a trend, it's not a one-off, right? You see that. One of the signs of Judgment Day is that khamr, alcohol, everybody will be taking drugs and alcohol. This is one of the signs. One of the signs of Judgment Day, immorality, fahisha, that people will be doing it in public or nudity will be in public. This is a trend. It's not a one incident. So these are two ways to categorize, a one incident or a trend. And this is something that is very clear. Now, another way to categorize, which is the more common way, and it is the one that we will be using, inshallah, for today and the rest of our series, is to divide the signs of Judgment Day into what is called major signs, al-ashrat al-sa'a al-kubra, and minor signs, ashrat al-sughra, major signs and minor signs. And where do we get this from? We get it straight from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in that, in a number of authentic hadith, he explicitly mentioned that there are going to be 10 major signs of Judgment Day. So by mentioning 10 will be major, automatically this means the rest are going to be minor. Okay? So he is the one who brought forth this categorization. That he said there's going to be 10 kubra or kabir signs. And those ones are separate from the rest of them. So the hadith is in Sahih Muslim. The hadith is in Sahih Muslim that our Prophet ﷺ came across the Sahaba one day. They were sitting in the masjid. He came and they were having a heated discussion. So he said to them, "What are you discussing?" So they said, "We are talking about when Qiyamah will happen. We're talking about making a guess, when will Qiyamah happen?" So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Qiyamah will not happen until you see its 10 signs." So now he said there are 10 signs that are directly linked to Qiyamah. There are 10 that are definitely in a different category. Qiyamah will not happen until you see its 10 signs. Then he mentioned them one by one, and I'm going to quickly list them now, and inshallah later on in our series we'll go over each one of them in a lot of detail. Number one, he said the dukhan. Dukhan is a dust, smoke, smog, the dukhan. Number two, and by the way, all 10 of these are specific. These are not trends. All 10 of these are one-off incidents. So these 10, it is a clear-cut sign. Something major is going to happen, catastrophic, cataclysmic, and everybody will recognize this is one of those major signs. So number one, the dukhan. No, and this is not in order. We're going to mention this. This is just 10 that he said. They don't necessarily be in this order. Number two, the Dajjal. And that is a long discussion. We'll talk about that. Number three, the Dabba. And the Dabba is the beast. And he's mentioned in the Quran. وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَخْرَجْنَا لَهُمْ دَابَّةً مِّنَ الْأَرْضِ تُكَلِّمُهُم. So this is in the Quran. There's something called the Dabba, or a beast. And by the way, before I move on, so signs of Judgment Day in every tradition, they are cryptic. They are cryptic. This is one of the things that we find. Even in the conservative Christian movement, even in the Orthodox Jewish movement, this is the genre of of signs of Judgment Day. In every religious tradition, you have these phrases that might be difficult to unpack. One of the wisdoms might be that you only recognize it after it happens, that, oh, this is what it is referencing. So Allah knows best, but that is an interesting point. Each of these you can tell is, what is the dabba, what is the dukhan? And again, we're going to get to it one by one. So where were we? We said the dukhan, the dajjal, the dabba. Number 4, the rising of the sun from the west. So the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. One day it will rise from the west. Number 5, Nuzulu Isa ibn Maryam, the coming down of Isa ibn Maryam. Okay, this is a specific incident, and that is not ambiguous at all, very clear. Number 6, Ya'juj and Ma'juj, and the coming of Ya'juj and Ma'juj. Okay, that is a major sign, and we'll talk about them and some of the problems that are raised by this issue. We'll talk about it very frankly when we get to inshallah. Number 7, 8, and 9, 3 zalazil, 3 earthquakes that will shake the world. There's going to be major. This isn't a regional earthquake. These are earthquakes that essentially the world will know it is an earthquake. 3 zalazil that will shake the world. In one hadith, each next one will be bigger than the first one. So it's going to be 3 consecutive earthquakes that are, the whole world will know that there is an earthquake taking place. And then he said, وَآخِرُهُنَّ, the last of these signs, number 10, the last of these signs is a blazing fire that will emanate in Yemen and will force the people towards Ard al-Mahshar, or the land of resurrection. The land of resurrection. The very last sign of Judgment Day will be the fire that will force people to gather in one place, and that will be the end of humanity in that one place, which is going to be in Bilad al-Sham, as we will come to when we come to it. In another hadith he said, anytime one of these 10 comes, expect the other to come immediately after. So these 10 are like dominoes, one after the other. These 10, when the first one comes, khalas, the rest are going to follow very, very quickly. And the first of these 10, without a doubt, is the coming of Isa ibn Maryam. This is the first of these 10. The first of these 10 is the coming of Isa ibn Maryam. And when Isa comes, the rest of these are going to come one by one, and that's it. Qiyamah will take place very shortly after the coming of Isa ibn Maryam. And the last of the minor signs links the first of the major signs. Let me repeat. The last of the minor signs links the first of the major signs. The last of the minor signs is the coming of the Mahdi. The coming of the Mahdi is the last of the minor signs. And the Mahdi will be alive and will interact with the first of the major signs, and that is who? Isa ibn Maryam. So the Mahdi and the Isa will coexist at the same time, same place, interact with one another, and it is literally as if the minor is coming to an end and the major is beginning, and then that's it. The rest will go from there until Qiyamah. So for the rest of today, and inshallah our next lecture on Wednesday, we'll be discussing some of the primary minor signs. Now, I want to make a point here. While I have done a somewhat exhaustive list, it is not possible to do an encyclopedic list. That would take at least 4 to 6 weeks of lectures, and also into a lot of detail about various narrations and how authentic they are. So what I have done, I have culled it from the primary books that I have. The major, not the major signs, the word major is not problematic to use because we're talking about minor. The more significant of the minor signs, let's put it that way, okay? So by no stretch is this list fully comprehensive. And I have told you about one of the most comprehensive books. Some say it is the most encyclopedic book ever written, and it is Kitab al-Fitan by the famous scholar of hadith of the 4th century, Nu'aym ibn Hammad. It has over, don't quote me on this, 1,000-something narrations about the signs of Judgment Day. He wrote a book of hadith. He's in the classical time frame. He isn't some modern guy. He's in the time of right after Bukhari. So he's writing every hadith with his isnad to the Prophet ﷺ, and it is a massive compendium that was very recently edited and published. They came across a manuscript copy. Otherwise, it was missing for many centuries, but they came across it and it was recently printed. This is a massive encyclopedia. That's not going to be done in just 2 or 3 lectures. So let us begin, inshallah, talking about some of the more significant of these minor signs. And I will try my best to use authentic hadith, and we will come to the topic of weak hadith eventually as well, and you will hear my position about them, which is the position of the vast majority of the scholars of our religion, including Imam al-Nawawi and Ibn Taymiyyah and others, who said that weak hadith hadith that are not 100% authentic, they may be used with a number of conditions. You must have some conditions attached to them.